Hi, everyone. It's a pleasant morning today, and I've been listening to all of you and all the speakers out here today. And it's fascinating how urban as a connotation has evolved in the country. So, technically, I've been around working in urban space for 2 decades, and that's not quite much. But a lot of urban evolution and transformation in the country has actually happened in last 10 to 15 years because the entire imagination of what is urban was largely spelled out very specifically to slum upgradation. So it was more about poverty eradication in these urban spaces than imagining today while hearing how mobility is imagined, how transit orientation development is happening in the country, or how urban planning is coming together. It's very fascinating. And so I'll start off with a little more radical thought and saying that while we craft India's development story, can that be without climate grammar? A lot of us talk about India's economic development and say that cities are an areas of opportunities and we must blend into it. But how much of that economic opportunity is what we are encashing is seemingly very difficult to comprehend. And I'm excited with this gratifying, well-informed panel that I have with me today. Um, I'll nudge with a couple of questions and ideation. When we think urban, largely it's defined by population. The moment a population of a particular space evolves, grows, we label it as a city. And therefore, it's very misleading what to call urban, what to call a city, and how significant it is. It is an opportunity because we have close to 5,000 cities and towns, and in the next decade or so, we'll be close to 10,000 of them. How prepared are we in this direction is something that I would want some of my co-panelists to take me through. Um, I would like to invite one of my panelists here. When we think about smart, we think about data. We think about how data can change our life, how technologies can do it, and I would call upon Dr. Sapru to take us through this journey and tell some of the initiative that he has taken.
Yeah, thank you. Um, so it's a very relevant topic, how data is being used in the government, and especially in the smart cities, to uh, to make them really smart. So actually, now data is now called the new oil uh, world over. So what we see is that data is now being used by various government organizations, especially let's say we in police surveillance, they are using it. We have examples like data is being used to find out where crime is on a higher rate, so that police monitoring can be increased in those areas. Data data mining is also being used in defining in controlling the traffic also. Servers here in the morning from the traffic police. So I'm sure they would be thinking on those lines, how we can control the traffic of Gurugram using the data. And similarly, there are various other areas where technology has an application. In urban areas, we witnessing the world over that now for treatment plants, technology is being used to segregate green waste and other type of waste. Also, health authorities are also using data for patient care. We see that they're collecting data of old age people, how if they can monitor, because old age people need care, and not that much kind of in India, but world over now they municipal bodies, they've started tracking that type of things also. And there are multiple other examples also. If I've jotted down some points. Yeah. Yeah, smart metering, I think for smart metering for water and power that is being used, it can be used by the data can be used by the local councils to detect if there are some frauds. if that type of things can also be found out, and smart lighting, if there are light is on or off, that can be remotely found out. So frankly, yes, data is a mine and it is being effectively used, but I would say that blindly following that, that this is the data, I can make my models to learn, it at times is very difficult. I usually take an example, if that in policing surveillance, what the data is already biased. Let's assume that the police thinks that there is a migrant population living in somewhere in Delhi, so I need to I need to be more watchful over there. So what would I do as a police? I will have more policemen deployed there, and since I have more police deployed there, there would be more probability of catching the crime, right? So if I use that data and feed into my AI models, that model would be flawed, right? And the model will say that that slum area requires more policing. So what I will do, it gives a negative feedback to me. I'll again deploy more police there, because data is saying that in slum areas you need to have more policing, there is a chance of higher crime. And once again, if I deploy more police, then again there's a more probability of catching more crime. And in fact, there might not be that much crime. So we will have to design our models so that these models are reflective of the true picture. We don't want to have blind things that this data is saying this, I just believe it. So some bias needs to be removed. So that's all I have to say. Yeah.
Just a quick add-on to that, sir. What is really interesting is that our cities have our data, our corporates have our data, but as per one of the Supreme Court judgment of 2017-18, it said that informational privacy is a right. How much of information that a city has and how do they take care of it, and as a citizen, how much of right do we have, is something that is not really a discuss agenda, where you see a lot of European Union and people in the West talking about it. Probably in India and Indian cities, people are not really conscious of how the data is used.
In fact, this is what is happening. You rightly pointed now. In India, there is now, earlier there was not much concern about privacy. We on a personal level, we do not think everywhere, wherever we go, we will give our Aadhaar number, we will not think about it. But now we will think twice before giving our Aadhaar number. Yes. And major government organizations, be at the central level, state level, or at the municipal level, they have minds of personal data of citizens. They have Aadhaar numbers, their date of birth records, they have their insurance numbers, and that type of personal information. Everything is there. Now, citizens are getting more aware, and now with these ruling of Supreme Court and the DPD Act has also come. So now government organizations will have to be more aware of how to secure this data. And I'm from the cybersecurity organization, and I know how world over and in India also, how attackers are after the data. They are stealing the data. There are multiple data breaches world over in city organizations, city councils. So the first target is to just steal the data so that they can extort money from the organizations. So they can ask for ransoms. So there's a heightened need for the government organizations to protect the citizen data which they store. And there need to be sufficient security measures so that whatever that data is being collected is safe, secure, and citizens' concerns are taken care of. I'll not have an example from India, but world over, what we are seeing is that now city councils, municipal corporations are facing legal cases from the citizens that their data has been stolen and is being sold on the dark web. So that type of things will soon come to in India, and I would request all government organizations, and I'm sure there are multiple panel people, mostly from the smart cities also, to please have this awareness that securing data is very important. Using data is one thing, but securing that data it should be of utmost priority. And with the government laws in place, they will have to now spend money on securing data also. Right.
Thank you so much. I'll move on to Mr. Subhash now. And seemingly, the very first thing when we talk about cities is that it's organic, it's unplanned. And so a lot of vested responsibility lies with Mr. Subhash and some of the efforts that he does. While we might have this entire assessment about how cities are planned and designed and framed, what we forget is that there is a series of well-trained professionals who are engaging with it, but looking at the dynamic nature of how the city's evolution is happening, it's very difficult to look at how planning can take. And I would request Mr. Subhash to take us through some of the efforts that he has taken for the city.
Actually, Gurugram is the best example for public-private partnership in protection of green and blue infrastructure. And as government authority, whether GMDA, municipal corporation, or district administration, we are very concerned about protection, conservation, and eco-restoration of blue and green infrastructure. Blue means the water bodies, and the green is the parks or green belts or like that. In Gurugram, the biggest challenge was that there was encroachment on these blue and green infrastructure, which are the most important part for the sustainability of the cities. And the environmental challenges we are going to face in future. We have taken as a challenge, and we are providing every administrative support to the NGOs who are involved in such activities, to the companies who are interested to invest their money in CSR activities for protection of water bodies or green areas like that. And also the waste management in the city, especially the C&D waste, the people who are working with our authorities in these fields. Basically, I'm looking after the urban environment issues. And there are many examples we have set up in Gurugram in public-private partnership, which can be replicated in other urban areas. Especially, we have some of the NGOs are associated with us, like I'm Gurugram, who are working in protection and management of the green areas, which were the Malwa grounds or the encroachments were there on the. And they have taken CSR funds from many companies. You all know, there are more than 400 MNCs, and they are pursuing the with the companies for securing funds. And we are providing the such sites to the NGOs like I'm Gurgaon, Rahagiri Foundation, Seeds, and they have developed very good models. Suppose they have developed some walkways of 5.6 kilometers in Wazirabad Band, the Badshahpur Nala, and some NGOs have developed ponds which were encroached or which were not in existence. And we have provided them some facilities like fencing, or we have connected those water bodies with the treated water lines, so that these should be sustained in future also. And many companies are there, some of the names are there on the board also, who are also associated with our authorities, who have taken initiatives on protection of green belts in the cities. For example, Whiteland, Finista, DLF, some of the companies are mentioned there. They have taken some big steps in protection and restoration of green belts. They have fenced the green belts, and they have carried out plantation over there. And we are encouraging the companies or NGOs to come to government authorities, and we will provide them space, and the funds they have to secure from their CSR funds. These are some of the activities we are doing in the city, and if someone is interested, then they can see the work done in last 3-4 years, and we have good examples. Thank
So, a connecting question to that would be that while we see that there is a lot of improvement in neighborhood level, at a city level, by different organizations supporting the effort, in terms of planning, how when we talk about planning, climate change risk, there is an urban flooding issue that happens, heat waves, air quality, and that has come up a lot in today's inaugural conversations also. How does your agency kind of support that in terms of taking a planning lens to it?
Actually, in planning, we have that Gurugram Manesar urban plan already approved by the Country Town Planning Department. And in that plan, we have, it is clearly mentioned which area will be there. Some green spaces are mentioned, some water bodies are mentioned, some where will be the roads or like that. That infrastructure is mentioned in that plan. And especially the government authorities, we are working on that plan only for conservation of the resources or the development of infrastructure. The challenges in the city in future will be like urban heat island effect, air quality issues are there. And as authorities, we are working on the planning on these, especially the heat island effect and the air quality. One World Bank project is also coming in the state. And that World Bank project for air quality, clean air in whole Indo-Gangetic plain. The main emphasis under the project will be in urban areas of NCRs under that project. And as authorities, we are also trying that along the roads, no area should be kacha portion, so that it create dust and other things. We want to create either paved areas or green, or we want to convert those into green. In planning, these are the important factors, that there should be pathways, walkways along the roads. And one model has been created in sector 18. Under that road, everything has been developed: footpath, cycle track, and plantations. And this road will be completed with the public participation, public-private participation during the month of August. And if anybody is interested, they can say the name of the road is Sanath Road. It is in Sector 18. And such planning will be done throughout the roads of the city. And second will be their emphasis will be on the public transport. And GMD is working because the city bus service is managed by GMDA. And we are going to increase the fleet of buses. 200 buses, more buses, electric buses will be purchased by GMDA, so that the pressure from the roads by private vehicles can be decreased.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll move on to Mr.
Thank
Binay
you.
now. And when Gurugram comes up, it's been in the news at least 60% of the time to talk about the waste that has accumulated. And but there is also flip side of the story right now in terms of how it is kind of nudging a clear direction after Varanasi in terms of more cleaner waste collection avenues. And I would like Mr. Binay to spotlight on some of the efforts that NTPC is doing.
Okay, thank you. Actually, we from NTPC were developing the waste to charcoal projects in Varanasi. That will use around 600 ton of waste on day-to-day basis, and it will convert it to charcoal. Those charcoal can be used in the thermal power station without any much modifications. We are using a technology that is a torrefaction technology. The heart of the technology that heat the MSW, municipal solid waste, to a temperature of 350 to 400 degrees centigrade in the absence of oxygen. And by the way, that carbon component will be collected as a charcoal, and that can be used for any that will replace the natural coal. This MSW, municipal solid waste, it is processed through P process before going to the reactor. This pre-processing mainly segregation of inert, segregation of C&D waste, and shredding of the MSW. Those are the pre-processing area. And after that, it goes to the goes to the reactor where it is heated up to 400 degree temperature in the absence of oxygen. Then it converted into charcoal. And for the transportation purpose, we are using this charcoal dust is converted into briquettes so that it can be transported to the nearest thermal power station. We are expecting that it is the output will be around 200 ton. Actually, this project is first of its kinds, and this type of project is nowhere in India, probably in the world. Some initial kick-ups are there. We hope that we will be able to meet the challenges. That's.
So a little more kind of confrontational question is that while we talk about India's well-being in the era of climate change, India's well-being in terms of the urbanization that is creeping in, what is interesting is that we don't have a luxury of a carbon-intensive economy. And how do you think some of these efforts that you have taken will help kind of change the discourse in terms of how urban cities are looked at?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Actually, every urban city is having a problem of disposal of waste. Waste can be converted to biomethane gases, but there is no scientific way of disposal of this dry waste. Dry waste we can see the number of mountains or heaps of waste outside the cities. That is creating a problem. What we can see the only mountain of the solid waste, but we cannot see that amount of methane gases from these heaps that is going to the environment and that is polluting our environment. Another thing is that what we cannot see, that is the leachate that is going and contaminating the groundwater. And what this methane gas and this leachate is creating a problem for us. This is changing our environment. And second thing is that we see some frequent fire in the heaps. That is also burning of these plastics. That is also creating carcinogenic gases. And it's created a problem to the environment. So if we can convert it to charcoal, the probability of emission of these greenhouse gases and the leachate and the carcinogenic gases, that will be reduced to the extent possible. That's why I've told you this is the most efficient and scientific way disposal of solid waste.
So while 1,800 plus landfills are there, legacy dump sites also exist in this country, while you talk about kind of releasing of methane and all, and while we kind of get into the technology of transferring some of these waste, are we not releasing methane in a manner that it shouldn't? While it remains in a dump site, it might be a slow process in which the methane is released. But while when we think about it by removing it and taking it through a certain process, isn't there an immediacy that we are opening up the methane in a manner that we can't control it?
Madam, actually, the emission of methane cannot be controlled. If it is disposed in the landfill site, because if we put in the landfill site, there will be decomposition and the methane will go into the environment. In our system that we are processing on day-to-day basis, that same waste which is coming in our plant, that will be processed to charcoal. So there is no question of emission of methane gases in our system.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll move on to Abhishek. And the reason I really held up on talking to Abhishek at the last was also because there have been so much efforts that we have been hearing Zomato take up interventions on. While as an organization, I see that there's so much you have done already. My imagination is that you are an ecosystem player. You're crafting some of how mobility is imagined for future. How does Zomato see itself as an ecosystem player in terms of framing some of these policies and driving how mobility in future is designed?
Sure. No, I think that's a great question. And so while I am here, there is a dedicated team of public policy, which is working hand in hand with the state as well as central government to kind of shape up these policies in the favor of the right mobility solutions. We as an organization, we have, as we started this panel discussion, from data points. So I will circle back to that, and we get all these data from the lat long which we get from the riders via our app. So we can form the patterns. What are the patterns which kind of induces the propensity towards accidents or a better riding pattern? What is it that's needed, or various patterns that we have, and we are closely working with the authorities to kind of ensure what is it that can actually evolve as the right set of mechanism in terms of the smart mobility within the cities, or the right infrastructure if that's needed. Plus, what is the carbon emission offsetting mechanisms that we all can shake hands and bring into the country, city by city. So I think that's there, and the I think the biggest muscle that we have, again I will repeat, is the data, and the ability to actually carve out patterns from that data.
My second question to you would be around the EV. While you've spotlighted a lot about your EV interventions, is this the next big thing? Because studies also showcase that we do not have the requisite infrastructure in this country to support something like that. While in the next decade or so, the organization is transitioning into something more tangible around EV. How do you see that?
So there are three components of this ecosystem which currently exists in the market. The first one is the electric vehicle itself. So the manufacturers, most of the manufacturers of the EV, they are getting the components from various other countries on the complete knockdown basis and are assembling here. So that technology perspective is evolving outside of India at a much rapid pace, while the assembling is happening here in India. So that's the one component of that EV space. The second component is the battery technology. Currently, there are multiple technology within the batteries which are existing, starting from the NMC to the LFP within the lithium ion ecosystem. And now people are talking about sodium ion, aluminium air, so on and so forth. So this is the second component of the ecosystem. The third one is the financing of that EV. Now that we have a beautiful product, now that we have the most suitable product, now that we have the most sustainable product, how do we make it accessible and affordable to the delivery fleet? So these are the three components. Now, we feel that it's imperative to convert the delivery fleet onto EV, because going forward, burning the fossil fuel on every kilometer is not sustainable. And while the first and the second component can evolve with time, and there will be players to kind of make it more streamlined and make it more efficient with time, the third component can be eased with us. And there are currently a lot of NBFCs as well as the cheaper rate of interest if they want to kind of go ahead for the upfront buying. So this is what we guys are doing, and in parallel we are also again leveraging the data that we have from the mobility perspective to kind of share it with the large OEMs or the credible OEMs, and understanding how we can make the EV more rugged, more robust in terms of its operational abilities, just so that the future waste can be minimized. So right now, most of the EVs, they have a life of around 3 to 4 years, including the battery. If there can be a way to maximize this to, say, for example, 10 years, then the potential waste coming out of this EV will be lowered or potentially halved, right? So these are the few initiatives that we guys are taking and working very, very closely with the ecosystem players.
Thank you so much. I'll just move to Mr. Subhash and say, that there's been a lot of reflection on how waste is generated, and that also comes from some of your co-panelists talking about waste. So one pressing question is, do our master plans really design for waste in terms of how waste infrastructure should be placed in cities?
Actually, a municipal corporation has identified some that material recovery facilities, and from that facilities, the waste will be segregated. The agencies which are engaged for this purpose, their role was to segregate the waste there at recovery facilities, and after that, it might have gone to the plant. But that was not happening, and in Gurugram there are issues related to the agencies which were engaged for this waste management. And not only solid waste, the problem was with the C&D waste also. The people were dumping the C&D waste in open plots or the open areas of the government lands. And now we have engaged some agencies by the municipal corporation, and now our the emphasis will be on that it is segregated at source, and the fines have been imposed on different bulk waste generators, and they have also been advised, or awareness camps have also been organized, so that the waste to the Bandwadi plant should go in a minimum. And also this C&D waste, C&D waste processing plant has already been established, and we are trying that all the solid waste should go, the C&D waste go to the processing plant. We are trying to identify some of the areas, because this Bandwadi plant, it has overcrossed the capacity, and some other sites are being identified, but the people are creating objections to create such facilities in their areas. That are the other issues.
Yeah, thanks, sir. And I don't know if Indian cities are smarter in this decade, but at least they have become wiser with such kind of incidents happening in our lived experiences. We have actually grown in terms of our urban thinking. And with this, I'll open the floor for questions. Are there any questions in the room? Can someone help with the mic, sir?
Can we please hand over the mic to the gentleman?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Madhukar Anand. My question was to Mr. Yadav. In Haryana, when we travel to our projects, I have worked in NTPC, that I've seen at many places land degradation taking place because of brick kilns. Very fertile land, very topsoil, which take millions of years to form, is being recklessly being used for making bricks. Although there is a government regulation that if you have a power plant in the vicinity, you can use the fly ash for making those bricks. So are there any steps that you are taking to arrest that land degradation and prevent soil fertility?
Actually, this is a question of economics. These fertile lands were used for agriculture production, and a farmer was getting only 20,000 or 30,000 in agriculture production in a year. But once these brick kilns and the other such things come over there, they will provide the farmer to use his soil of that 1 acre, they will provide 1 lakh per acre. Then farmer will, instead of growing crops, he will prefer to go for selling the sand or the soil from his fields. You are right that Jharli plant is there, and NTPC plant is there. They are, I think, they are manufacturing the bricks from the ash. And now we have ruling that the construction that fly ash will be used, and also the blocks which we are making from the C&D waste plants, we will be using in construction works. Some policy is being framed by the Pollution Control Board. But your question is that whether any plan is there, because if the farmer's land is there and he has sold the soil from his field, now it will take at least 5 years to come to bring that land under production, because the upper layer that was the fertile soil has been lifted, and this has occurred mostly in districts like that Jhajjar and surrounding Gurugram or the Mewat. In that area, the biggest problem is that the soils are sodic or saline. And then if we go down, if the upper layer is removed, the soils are not fertile. Either sodic soils are there or saline soils are there. And groundwater in that area, especially the brick kiln area, is also brackish. So we as a forest department also, we are encouraging farmers to grow some species which can be grown in the waterlogged areas or such problematic soils. We are also going to farmers for growing tree cultivation.
My only submission was that if you are breaking down into cost economics, we are incurring a huge environmental cost and permanent environmental degradation for future generations to come. If you can arrest this thing, that and there are policies in place, but implementation is lacking.
Yeah, it's there in everywhere. Rules are there, but we are part of the system. We are happy to break rules, and we go for the easy things. And because in these areas, especially Jhajjar and Mewat, the brick kilns were established because lot of demand was there for construction activities in Gurugram or NCR. That's why this business of brick kilns encouraged or the flourished. Thank you.
Sir, I am J.K. Bhatti, ex-additional General Manager from Rights. Now, today's topic is on creating smart and sustainable cities. You are aware that Honorable Prime Minister of India, they have launched a mission on smart cities in June 2015, and under different stages, around 100 cities are planned that they will become smart cities. Can you tell me what is the main reason that the smart cities are not progressing so far? Any of the panelists?
Yeah, thank you.
Actually, my experience, because I am also taking care of the urban environment activities of Faridabad Development Authority, and Faridabad was one of the city under Smart City project. Under Smart City project, some activities were proposed for development in the city. But the holistic and separate Smart City division was made, or the unit of like municipal corporation or authority or public this Haryana Shahri Vikas Pradhikaran, like that a special office was opened, and that office proposed some of the activities that road will be created smart, the footpath will be made, green belts and the lights will be get. But they have taken some of the activities in the cities like Faridabad, a big city, but there were lot many problems which could not be supposed. 500 crores was given to Faridabad, and they have taken restoration of the Badkhal Lake or the development of a particular 2 or 3 roads that cannot fulfill the needs of the city like Gurugram or Faridabad. If a holistic proposal has been made for a particular city, and that should have been taken, then with small initiatives like 1 road, 2 roads, or some 1 or 2 activities, it will not create the city smart.
So my question was, why the 100 cities are not progressing so far? I was not asking about any specific city. My question was on all the smart cities planned by Government of India, that 100 cities will be planned in 5 stages, different stages.
So would you repeat the last two words because you were really not clear? So the 100 cities that you said,
Government has planned that 100 cities, under the first phase they have planned 20, then 25, then 15, then as on date 100 cities are to be smart cities in India. My question is on all 100 cities, what is the main reason that they are not progressing so far?
one of the cited thing that Sir really mentioned about was the smart city was designed in a manner that it focused on area-based development. It was not looking at a city at a scale, and that has been a bigger critique of the mission itself. So that could be possible in the way that the challenge was designed, the mission was led. It didn't call for a holistic development there. And with the dearth of time, I would request you that you can take on this conversation one-on-one. And I would move to the last question, which is from Hans here.
Just two comments, just quickly. So first of all, in Vienna, for example, we have 100% of the waste is turned into energy. So most welcome to visit. If you want, we could like to organize organization and study there how it works. A second question quickly to cybersecurity. I think we all cannot imagine how much threat is there, how much possible threats. So just last week I visited an Austrian company in Pune, and they're one of the market leaders in inverters. So the inverters for the solar energy, and the inverters are the heart and the brain of the solar system, solar energy. And all the data is collected, goes to computer systems to send abroad. So all this data is going abroad, and there's also possible threats of that foreign countries can block the system. So all the servers, so basically most of the servers which have the data for the solar industry are abroad. So are you aware of that? Are there any initiatives to prevent this?
On cyber front, I'm actually not aware of this, but yes, at times it does happen that the data of a particular country is going abroad. That is happening, but now the concept of data sovereignty has come, and now the Indian government has now put in restrictions that certain data, especially health data and certain sensitive data, should remain within the country. So that awareness has come, and now it is being implemented. And now earlier it was what was happening is that the data was going outside the country, and when we would, as law enforcement agency, we would request the data from a particular service provider. They would say that the data is yours, but the laws are ours. So they would not give us the data. Now we have certain good stringent regulations, legal regulations in place, and now we can seek data. But yes, definitely data sovereignty needs to be considered, and in fact, you would know that Europe, it keeps data to itself. US keeps data to itself. Now, Indian organizations are also thinking on the same lines. I hope I've been able to answer to your question. Yeah.
So I'll just have one closing statement, which would ideally be about poor data would also mean poorer governance, and it's essential for us to kind of design around it. We don't make the same mistakes that other cities have done. So one of the learning and innovation could be peer learning experiences that cities can really look forward to and engage with. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.